So this is my wireless RGB controller for your Factorio base. I have a little list to make sure that I kind of stay on track, and I'm going to go through that now. So the first thing that I have written down is signal separation importance and setup. The reason I bring up signal separation importance is because the way that this works is it works across anywhere on a given planet. So since I'm on Navi, it'll work anywhere on Navi. If you put one on Volcanus, it'll work anywhere on Volcanus. There is, if you get the AAI mod, which this works all entirely in vanilla, you need no mods to just drop this in your game and start using it at all. If you want it to work across planets so that everything is synchronized between like Navi and Volcanus and Gleba or whatever, you can get the AAI signals mod and use these two buildings, the signal receiver and the signal transmitter. I think there are some mod settings to allow them to work across different planet surfaces, so I would just look into that if you're interested in that. But I'm gonna show you real quick how to, like, once you plop this in, to make sure that it works. The brain over here needs to be able to read your request settings that you have. This is like your control panel for it, and the brain needs to be able to see these. So the way that you do that is by taking a RoboPort, and this has to be connected to whatever logistics network is like the main one for your base, because it needs to be able to read the requests that you have set in your inventory and output them to the brain. So you open this, read logistics network requests, red wire into a radar. That is the most important. And to show, this is like a added little efficiency thing, but also gives you an idea of how the request system kind of works. You can see my request network, or my logistics network here. That little green space up there is not within my logistics network. So when I step into there, this thing will no longer be able to read what requests I have sent, and therefore won't be able to tell the brain. And the default state for the lights is off, not on. This has to be set to 1 to have them on. If it's 0, there we go, see? All the lights turn off. And then 1, and they're all back on. But that also means that if you walk outside of your logistics network, all of your lights turn off. If you want to avoid it doing weird things like this when you're walking around your base, just make sure that you get really good network coverage. But again, that has the added effect of when you leave your base and you're not going to be around, it'll turn your lights off, so it saves you the power of running all of these little 5 kilowatt guys. Alright. Real quick, I'm gonna demonstrate how you add extra lights to the system. We'll get into what the controls do and how to set them up here in a second, but just real quickly, the only thing that you have to do to synchronize your lights, this is like a little test display for when you place it down so that you can see what the rest of the lights in your base are going to do. So any changes you make in the control panel, you'll see here, so that even if you're not next to your base, when you place it, you'll know what's going on with them. But to add more, all you need is a radar, the lights, and some power. So I'll actually show the wireless, I guess, ability of this really quickly, because, okay, so you can see everything outside of that green, well, anything outside of the orange is outside of my logistics network, and anything outside of the green is outside of my construction network. So I'm real zoomed out. I'm just going to plop it over here, as you can see, outside of everything. and just connect some power up over here just so that they're powered. And again, nothing going on over there. So we take the radar, and I'll throw down just a little medium power pole just so that we can get some more lights over here. So so that they have power. But again, I just placed these. There are no green wires or anything running between any of this. There's no way for me to get the signal over here except for through this radar. And I'll do just like a little square around that center power pole. And the way that you connect them is you take a green wire, as that's what gets output from the brain into this radar. Take the green wire, connect it to a light, connect them around. And at first, this will do nothing because we have not set their control behavior or whatever. I haven't changed any of the settings in here. If you want to get these to work the way that the lights here work, all you got to do, real easy, these, whenever you place a blueprint, should already be set up, so you can just shift, right click with your mouse, and then left click on these lights, and the settings get applied. And now I'll do my demonstration here just so that you can see that these wireless lights that are not connected to my logistics system or through any wires, these will also get any of the changes that I make to the control panel. So now to the control panel. The first and probably most important control right here, this is your brute force off switch. There is no brute force on, but I will explain that later when we get to these settings. So to brute force all lights off, we go in here and you can change this from 1 to 0. And now all of these lights are disabled, and even the ones that we put out here, only connected to this radar, these are all off now too. Okay, neat, cool. Well, to demo them, we gotta turn them back on. There, back on. Everything's on and working. Okay. So this one right here, this control, this toggles either solid color mode or RGB mode. So 1 right now, it's in solid color mode. Solid color mode can be whatever color you would like. The color is controlled through these settings. So if you open up in here, you can see red is at 255, green is at 255, and blue is at 255. And that outputs white because the numbers are 0 through 255, standard color values or whatever. You can play with these and set them to whatever you'd like, or you can like look up a specific color code that you like and get the values for it and drop it in there. To show this off, I will drop this down to 100. So we're getting rid of some green, and now we have pink lights, and that is color code 255, 100, 255. We go in here, and that's what the lights are getting. Okay, so that is how you set your solid color mode. Here, I want to keep those other lights just barely on screen, just that way you can see that they're updating along with everything else too. Now, like I said, whatever color you want, doesn't matter, and it should update instantly. I'm going to set these back to white, just for the sake of the demonstration. Now, RGB mode is not tied to these at all. RGB mode is its own thing. You come in here, and if you set this to 0, now you have RGB mode, and it will cycle throughout the rainbow. There we go, and these ones are doing it too. You can control the cycle length of the RGB. The number here, this is in ticks, so just as like an example number, there are 60 ticks a second in Factorio. So if you set this to 600, that would be a loop time of 10 seconds that it would take to go through a full color rotation. You can set this lower. I would not go, even 100 is very fast. I wouldn't really use it below 100, but if you go below 60, because it's functioning on like a 60 tick clock, if you go below 60, it will break the colors. It won't output all the different colors. It'll still flicker and like change color. It won't work right. But if I set it to 100, now the colors change very, very quickly. Then I can come back in here, and if we set it to 10,000, they change very, very slowly. And I can open this up, and you can see the RGB values changing over time. If you set this high enough, it can break the system because of the way the math is being done in here. These combinators can only hold values up to like a certain number. So as you can see that like the circle here, the output signal, that is already in the tens of millions. And I think if it breaks, it's either around 1 billion or 2 billion, then the number doesn't work properly in the combinators and it won't display properly. Even if that happens, if you just change this setting back, it shouldn't permanently break anything and it should just go back to normal. These lights here, well, we'll get to those in a second. I want to make sure that I cover everything in order. So since I just went over the rainbow toggle, next on my list is to explain how the rainbow works. This is the brain of the like rainbow color generator. This is the 60 tick clock that is like the central timekeeping unit of the thing. And what it does is the reason I'm using a circle is because you can think of the color wheel as a circle. So like say red at the top, then blue down bottom right, green bottom left, or whatever, and then all the colors in between. And then what we're doing is that counter here, the thing that's counting up to 60, is giving us our position on the wheel. So if you have that wheel set up, say here, I kind of want to do just a little, so say that you have red here, blue here, and green here, then since this is red and blue, this would be like purple. Since this is red and green, that would be, oh heck, I feel dumb, red and green. Well, let's try it. I don't know why I can't think of this off the top of my head. A little bit sleepy right now, so... Oh, there we go. An orange. Okay. Yeah, duh. That makes sense. Sorry. Like I said, a little bit sleepy. Here, and I'll put this back in RGB mode so that you can watch the colors roll while I explain things. But then, yeah, this would then be orange over here. And then between the blue and the green, you would get like a teal color, or like a sea foam, or whatever the heck. And then this timer counter is basically giving us different positions on this wheel to say like, hey, this is the color that should be displayed right now. I know it's kind of like a weird esoteric way to explain it, but that's like the way that makes the most sense in my head. And in here, I'm multiplying, instead of by 360, I'm multiplying by 36,000 just to allow greater precision with the output color values. And that's why numbers here don't go above a certain point, is because they're being multiplied by 36,000, which generates really high values. But again, I figured the precision was more worth it because I think you can set this all the way up to, I know 10,000 works, 100,000 might work, and I figure that's way slower than anybody would ever actually have it set to. So, going on to the next thing, the daylight sensing mode. So This whole left half is for the daylight sensor, because I wanted the lights to be able to turn on and off with day and night the way that the lights normally do. I figured that would be like a nice feature to have. So what this is doing is these solar panels keep this accumulator charged to a specific point. That's why this thing's freaking out, is because it's not letting it charge past the point that it's at. And the reason why I'm limiting that is so that when nighttime does come, it runs out quickly enough. And here, I'm going to turn this on just so you can get a demo of it switching. So they're off because it is daytime, and now that it is not daytime, as it becomes night, you'll see here, I think when this one turns on, mine will. Oh no, mine turned on before. Okay, so this is a normal light that doesn't have any control settings, so these will come on like as it progresses into night, and you can see that mine turn on before these even do. I think mine also turn off after these do, so your lights will remain on like in the morning longer than these will. It'll take them longer to shut off. You can kind of control the timing for that by how many items are in this section of chests here. I have 22. This is how I found it to be like most perfectly dialed in. So these should be able to be like literally whatever item you want. Just throw, if you want to function exactly like mine, just throw 22 of any item in here. And when it's nighttime, this won't have any power. So this can't move items into here. And when there are no items in here, anything is not greater than 0, so we are not outputting our day signal. And then again, if you want day-night mode off, just set that to 0, and now once it turns day, they won't disable. I'm gonna leave it on and go ahead and jump us forward in time a little bit, so that you can see what it looks like turning on, turning off during the day. So we have daylight mode on, and like I said, I think you'll see these start turning off before mine turn off, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I made this, so some of the details are still a little fuzzy to me, but you can see, so these are turning off. And then oh, last one went off. And oh, there they go, off. So I have it configured that way just because I like having more like light to see, even though, because it's still a little bit dark when these start turning off. So mine don't turn off until it's like nearly like full day brightness or whatever. But that is the daylight sensing mode. We can turn that off so that they can keep running in the background. Now, this last one here, this is for your global daylight sensing signal. With this system, my little 1 second like tick counter thingy, that is outputting its signal onto the green wire. So the same way that you connected these lights to a green wire from a radar, if you want to use that tick signal to keep things synchronized across your base, I can actually, I can use a green wire and connect it to this pole, and we can see what signals are coming out on it. And there you go. There's the tick signal. So if you want to synchronize other things to this same 60 tick cycle, you can from anywhere using just, again, the same green wire. Okay, so this setting right here, this is your global DAYSENSE signal toggle. With the light DAYSENSE, if I hit one, you'll see that over here now, on this, we now have a D signal. The global DAYSENSE system is if you want your lights on during the day, like you don't want the daylight sensing mode enabled, but you still want to use the daylight sensor function of this blueprint, you can go in here, set this to 1, and the lights have not turned off. They're still running. They're not getting their disable signal. But over here, I can take a red wire and pull it onto this power pole. And on the red wire, you can see it's outputting a D signal of 1. Be careful with how you put wires into and out of these radars, because you can mess up like the feed or whatever. Like if you have something requesting, just for a blatant example, like I don't know, say 5 of the blue science pack, then that will mess with the signal that's going into the like color brain. So that's how you get both of the kind of like global signal outputs, and all those other signals there just mess from this world, because this is a world I made with a friend. I'm just using it as a demo because it already had like the blueprint in it, and it had all the lights set up for like easy demonstration. So that is broadly how it works. The last thing that I will go over is I'm going to show that you get to choose what you want your settings to be, and this will work even if it's not attached to your base in any way. It does not need to be. So this logistics thing over here is reading my requests still. Since that is going to a radar, that means that our little RGB controller here does not need to be anywhere around this. I can just place down, that's what the radar in the blueprint is for. So if I come over here, and we'll just plop it down here. Okay, so these are your parameters. The global clock tick signal, that is the T that you saw. That's the 1 through 60 that counts up each second. You can set that to whatever you want to be used for, you know, whatever. Like I said, I use the T signal in here, T. The light disable / daytime signal, that is the signal that is like 1 if it is day or 0 if it's not day. This won't be in your like request controller or whatever. This is just what's going to be going on or like into the lights to tell them to turn off. Or I guess if you have the global DAYSENSE toggle on, this will be the same as the D that went to the red signal. So just this is just whatever signal you want to indicate that it is daytime, which will also in turn turn off the lights if the light DAYSENSE toggle is turned on. This is the toggle between RGB mode and flat color mode. These all need to be requestable items, so they need to be things where in your inventory you can make a request for them. That is how the controller works, so very important. This is the one that I was using to brute force them off, which brute forcing them off will turn them off no matter what your other settings are. If they are on, then the daylight mode can still turn them off. I mean, you saw it in the demo, but just for clarification. This is what you're using for the cycle length. So this is what I was using the purple sciences for. And here, I'm actually going to go through and fill these in. So I had ticket T. That one at that. I had this set to mill science. The force lights off signal I had set to light armor. The RGB cycle length I had set to production science packs. The red signal was red science packs. The green signal is green science packs. And the blue signal is blue science packs. The global DAYSENSE toggle, that is the one that can be used on the red wire for anything. That one I had set to metallurgic science packs. And then the light DAYSENSE toggle is the one that I had set to yellow science packs. So I can set that up. And if I come out here and let my bots build it, I think I have enough materials to completely place this. If not, then I'll go grab some extras and come back. Oh, I don't think that I have the steel chests. When you first place this, I'm gonna go ahead and change this in the blueprint before I upload it. In the original version that I had, in the version that was placed down on my base, yeah, I hadn't put it into the blueprint yet, but I just made all of these black just so that they're less distracting. So I'll go ahead and put that in the blueprint before I upload the blueprint string. But really quickly, let me come over here and snag some steel from somewhere. Here, I'll just mine these belts. Awesome. There we go, now I have some steel chests. Alright, now we have our steel chests, and I need an insert. And like I said, this side needs power. That is all it needs. So I can connect a large power pole right here. Alright, and now this is functioning. And like I said, the DAYSENSE side needs to not be connected to any power poles, including right here, these two cannot be connected or it will be broken. And for the daylight sensing function to work, go ahead and put 22 of whatever item. It doesn't have to be iron plates, it can be anything. But just 22 items in there, and there you go. Now that is functioning. So even though it's placed over here, you can see not connected to my base in any way other than the power cable. And the power cable can come from, like, if you want to build a solar farm to power this thing on its own, you can. It doesn't have to, it can literally be anywhere on the planet that you please. It does not matter. If I walk over here, back into my base's logistics zone, there we go. It works. Obviously, if you're placing this down really far away, it's a lot easier to test when you're like in your base, because you can like see the effect of your controls immediately. Because like I said, you have to be in a logistics zone that is connected in some way to a roboport set to read logistic networks request with a red wire going to a radar. Only one of these, like, per base or like per connected logistics zone. You could have two separated logistics zones that both do the same thing, and have one of these doing this with the red wire at each, though that would break in multiplayer. So yeah, I'm gonna be honest, if you're in multiplayer, I would only have one person running the controller for this. You can both do it, but you have to be careful because it's gonna combine your inputs up here. But yeah, so even though this thing is out here, not connected to anything in my system except just getting some power, and it still works just fine. So I can set it back to solid color mode, back to RGB mode, works anywhere across the planet. And like I said, the only thing that you have to do to add more lights to it is place the lights down, connect a radar with a green wire, and then shift right click, shift left click the lamps. That's it. That should cover pretty much everything for the RGB controller. Like I said, I'm going to update it just really quickly before I upload this video or post the blueprint string so that these are set to black. That way, again, just because it's a little less distracting, it's easier to see your display lights over here. But yeah, if you have any questions or want to know more or anything like that, feel free to let me know. Hopefully you enjoy the RGB controller.